Hey guys and gals, it's Mr. V. Hey, we are on our way to through our division unit. So first off, we started dividing when the numbers were kind of like a multiple of 10 or power of 10. We were able to easily divide. The numbers worked out nicely for us. They were already in their compatible form. We had to find the basic fact, underline it, do that small basic fact, and then we would uh, divide or cancel out the zeros, and then any zeros that were left over, we added on by knowing that is multiplying by 10 for leaving them off. So then we moved on to estimation, where we were doing the same thing as lesson one, except they're not compatible numbers. We had to make them compatible. So we had to estimate them and change them to something that was close to the original, but compatible. That way they divided nicely. Now we are moving our way up into normal division. Okay, so this method, we're going to learn two methods or do two methods, the same two methods that you did in fourth grade if you were here at MES or in the district. We are going to do what is called area model, and we are going to do what is called partial product. The standard algorithm, the old way that your parents would have done, I would have done, that will be in sixth grade, um, although we might touch it towards the end. I will tell you and assure all parents that out of all the new methods we've ever done or learned, I'm not always a fan of every one of them, but I will tell you that this method I think works the best, because in this method, you don't have to be exact on when you are dividing. If your number's lower, it does work. So it does feel like it can be a little bit more work, but in the end, it does end up being a lot easier for most kids. In fact, I've even heard most kids end up liking this method better, even when they learn the normal method, which you'll learn next year. So let's dig in. Fourth grade, you already learned these methods. Now I have a little not trick to my method, but I have a little thing that I do with my method that I actually was taught several years ago by Mr. Duncan, who was a teacher in the district and actually was the math teacher of the year. So I'm taking some strategies from him that we use. Okay. We are going to use this strategy in our class. So anytime you're doing these problems in my class, we are going to use these, what I call the help box, but we'll show you what it is. And you might have used it last year. Okay. So let's go ahead and title it. This is actually 5-3, but really this is going to be 5-3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So the next 4 or 5 lessons basically revolves around dividing. Okay. So if we don't pick this up today, that's okay. We're going to spend a good 2 weeks on this, making sure we know how to divide. We're going to divide by one digit. That's a fourth grade review skill. We're then going to divide by, two-digit divisors, which is definitely harder and where what I call the help box will come in handy. And then we are going to throw in word problems. We're going to make sure we truly understand how to divide, and when it's a word problem, how we know it's a division problem. Okay, so we're going to put division with area, model, and partial quotient. All right, so there's our title. So we're going to just kind of get down to it. So remember, we know we're going to kind of break down some words, even though we've learned them already. Okay. So when you do your partial quotient, that's what we'll start with first. This is what it's going to look like. It almost looks like you're playing the old game of Hangman. I'm not sure if any of you guys played that, but that's kind of what it'll look like. In here, you put a number here. This is what we call the dividend. Okay. The dividend is always in the house. Okay. That is super important to know. The dividend is always in the house. The divisor is always outside the house. Okay. If it was a problem written long ways, it would be dividend first divided by divisor equals what we call the quotient. Okay. Those are equally important words, which we already learned, but we want to make sure that we have them in our notebook once again. Okay. Over here, you're going to have what are called the partial quotients. And that's why you have the name. That's why it's actually called partial quotient, because what you're doing is you're coming up with, instead of putting the answer and getting the answer all at one time, you're getting small answers, partial answers, part of the answer, I should say, and then you are going to add them all up at the end. So that's what it's going to look like. And if you had anything left over, you would have that called a remainder. And we'll take a day or two to really talk about remainders and how remainders are in real life and what we do with remainders that are in real life. Okay, so that's kind of a setup for that. Now, when I start these, we're going to first start with just one-digit divisors, which is honestly way easier. So I don't want you to get overconfident and think, this is easy. Because it's good. I'm glad that you feel that way. But it does get a lot more challenging when the numbers get bigger. Okay, I think we knew that, and we've learned that from multiplication. Okay, so the dividend is going to be what you have. And you've heard me say that before when we've talked about other things. The dividend is what you have. So in a word problem, when we say you have 32 chocolate bars, that is the dividend. They're telling you that's what you have. The divisor is what is it being split by. The divisor is doing the splitting. Okay, I'm even put down here. Split, cut. He's the splitter. He's the cutter. He's the one dividing it up. Okay, so if I have 32 chocolate bars and I'm going to divide it by 3 of my students, okay, that means I'm putting it in groups of 3. That's what a divisor does. Okay, and then your quotient is your answer. So I'm going to go ahead and start one, and we're just going to do the partial quotient method for here. Okay, so again, I'm just going to start with a random number. We're going to go 846 divided by 5. Now, what we're going to do is, in 4th grade, you probably came up with some method or some thought process of using numbers of 10. We're going to do kind of the same thing, but we're going to make what is called a help box. So we're going to come over here. My answer goes right here. So we're going to come over here, and we're going to start what I call a help box. So we're not going to draw the box yet, but what we're going to do is we're going to start multiplying by 3 numbers. The only 3 numbers we're going to multiply by, and you can do more, we'll talk about that later, are 1, 2, and 5. So I'm going to do 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 5 is 25. So we're trying to figure out how many times 5 can go in this huge number of 846. So what I'm doing is I'm making numbers over here saying, okay, what if it went in 1 time? Well, that's only making groups of 5 at a time. That would take me forever. What if I did 2 times? Well, that's only taking 10 at a time. So I'd be taking away 10 from the dividend each time. That's going to take forever. So as you see, as my number gets bigger of what to multiply by, it's going to take more. Okay. So all these numbers are not good enough to use yet. So I'm going to put them in a little box, and I'm going to start my next set of numbers. Now, what's cool about this is your next set of numbers are just going to be 10 times larger than the first set you use. Now you're going to use 5 times 10. Notice all I did was put the 0 on there. All I did was make it 10 times larger, which now makes your answer 10 times larger. So it's 5 times 10 is 50. Again, this is pretty easy knowing it's a basic fact. If this number was 27, we wouldn't be able to be doing it as easy. Okay. And now we have 5 times 20, and that's going to equal, there was 10 for that, but now I need to make it 100 times or 10 times bigger for 100. And now I have 5 times 5, but now it's 5 times 50, make it 10 times larger, and I have 250. See how I've used the same 3 digits, 1, 2, and 5, but I just made them 10 times larger, which makes my answer 10 times larger. And we know that add a 0 to make it 10 times larger. However, those numbers still aren't big enough. I need a number that is very close to 846 without going over. Okay, I can't go over. So now I'm going to keep using those numbers, but now I'm going to go 100 times. So now I had 5 times 1, 5 times 10. Now I'm going to have 5 times 100. Okay, now I have 500. And again, I know this feels like it. I know you're going to feel like it feels like it's a lot of work or a lot of useless stuff to do. However, we're doing this as a very easy, basic problem. Okay, when it gets to be harder problems, you're going to be glad, 1, that we have this, and 2, you're going to be glad that we did it first easy to where you can understand it. So please keep that in mind. Okay, and I say that to my students and the parents. Okay, I have 500. That's still too big or too small. So I'm going to go 5 times 200. And now I have, let's see, that was 10. Now I had 2 zeros, 1,000. But notice now I am too big. So my flashes are going to go off. Beep, 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 beep. Okay, so I'm going to box this up. But this guy doesn't work. He just busted. Boom. So what number am I going to use? I'm going to use this 5 times 100 equals 500. Well, let's see where all these numbers came from. The 5 is right there. That's where the 5 came from. The 100 is how many times I'm going to put into 846. So the 100 becomes my partial quotient. Okay, so this number here is my partial quotient. So I have 5 times 100. The answer is how many pieces of the dividend you're going to use. So I have groups of 5. I'm going to do 100 groups of 5. Well, 100 groups of 5 is 500. So let's just put this into a context. I have 846 starburst, and I want to group them into 5s. So what am I doing in this first chunk? I'm going to make 100 groups, and I'm going to see where I'm at. So if I make 100 groups, how many starburst did I use? I used 500, so the 500 goes right there. Okay, so that's where the 3 numbers go. Be very careful with where you put the numbers. The 5 is the divisor. The first number is always the divisor. The second number is going to be your partial quotient because that's how many times you're using it. The third number is the actual amount of that you are multiplying. So you are going to take this and then you're going to subtract to find out what is left. So just like normal division, 6 minus 0 is 6, 4 minus 4 is 4, 8 minus 5 is 3. So pretty simple division. Well, now you're going to go back to your help box and you're going to look, can I use 500 again? Well, my number is 346. So now I have 346 starbursts left. I had 846. I grouped 500 of them. Now I have 346 left. Okay. So can I use 500? Nope. So I'm going to cross this guy out. And now we're going to use our help box to make us do everything, help us do everything else. So in this method, we do all the big work first. Once you get your help box made, the problem goes super fast. All right, so ask yourself, can I do 250? Oh, yes, I can. So again, the 50 goes here, and I have to make sure to line them up. Notice how I lined them up by place value? You can't get messy by that. You have to line these up. And then my 250 is going to go here because now I'm using 250 more starburst because I grouped 50 more. Okay, so now I'm going to subtract to figure out how many starbursts I have left. 6 minus 0 is 6. 4 minus 5, I can't do it. We got to regroup. 14 minus 5 is 9. So now I'm left with 96 starbursts. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my help box. Can I use 250? Nope. Can I use 100? Nope. Can I use 50? I can. How did I get 50? I made 10 groups. So I have the 10 that goes right here. I put the 50 right here, and now I subtract. And now I have 46. Okay, now if I look over here, I can't use 50 again, so I got to cross that out. I could use the 5 for the 25. Now here's where I will let you alter a little bit. If you know your 5 facts, because this one's pretty easy, you're probably going to know 5 times 9 is 45, so that would work. So if you wanted to do 9, even though it's not in the help box, you could do that because this is a simple basic fact. That's not going to happen when you have double-digit numbers, which is what our skills are in 5th grade. Keep in mind, this is a 4th grade problem. So I'm going to show you how it's really done, but yes, you could do that. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the help box. I'm going to use 25, and I made 5 groups. So again, lining them up. I'm going to do 25, subtract. I have 1, 2. Now I'm left with 21. Okay, now I'm going to do 10. So I have 2, and I do 10, and I subtract, and I have 11. I see I can use 10 again, so I'm going to use 2, 10, and now I'm left with 1. Okay, so it feels like it's a long problem. I get it, and because you knew some 5 facts that it looks like it's kind of you're wasting time almost. I don't want you to think that. I just did an easy problem. Okay, this method's a lot better when it steps up into the harder problems. So now where's our answer in all this? Well, I have 1 left over, so that's going to be my remainder. I can't forget him, but I want to add all my partials up. So that's 150, 160, 165, 67, 169. So my answer is 169, remainder 1. So I added all those up and got 169, and my answer is right there, 169, but I have a leftover of 1. Okay. So that's how you kind of use this method. And again, it happened to be I picked a problem where it was very long. Okay. This is one of the longer problems that you would do. Let's try another one. And I'm going to save space. So I'm just going to do it right here. So let's go 346 divided by 8. Okay. So I'm going to make my help box. I'm going to come over here and go 8 times 1 equals 8. 8 times 2 equals 16. 8 times 5 equals 40. Those are the three numbers that we always use, 1, 2, and 5. Now, other teachers use other numbers. Some let you randomly pick. I feel 1, 2, and 5 are the best. 1, because it's always an easy basic fact. 2, it's easy to double. 5, it's about halfway. Could you use another number? 6, 7? Yes, you could. And sometimes we do. Okay. We're only at 40. We need to be at 346. So now we got to make it 10 times. 8 times 10 is 80. 8 times 20 is 160. And again, how am I getting this? All I'm doing is doubling, or all I'm doing is making 10 times larger on my first facts. See, 8, 80. 16, 160. 8 times 50 is 400. And if you notice, beep, 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 I'm already over it. So this one isn't as many facts. I'm going to cross that guy out. What am I going to use first? I'm going to use 20 right there. I'm going to use 20 times. So how many times can 8 go into 346? We're going to pick 20. Okay. How many starbursts did I use? 160. So I'm going to subtract the 160 right here. 6 minus 0 is 6. 4 minus 6 I can't do. Got to subtract. 14 minus 6 is 8. 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay. So now I have 186. Go back to where you left off. Okay. Can I use 160 again? I can. Okay. Look, 160 fits into 186. It's smaller. So I'm going to use 20 again, lining them up nicely. And I'm going to know it's 160. Subtract 6, 2. So now I'm left with 26. Now what can I use? Can I use 160? Nope. 80? Nope. 40? Nope. Can I use 16? Yes. So now I'm going to do 2. I put the 2 right here. I use 16. I subtract. And now I'm left with 10. Okay. Can I use 16 again? Nope. Can I use 8? Yep. So there's a 1. 10 minus 8 is 2. There's my remainder. My answer is 20 plus 20 is 40. 42, 43. So I have 43, remainder 2. And that's how the help box will work. Okay. So this is when you're doing partial quotient. To not make the video long, I will go ahead and stop with this just so you have an idea of how it looks. And then the area model method we'll rather work with in class, or I'll make another video so you can see that as well. Okay. I hope this helps. Keep in mind, again, I know you're probably thinking that looks like a lot of work for easy problems. Well, they are easy problems. We're setting ourselves up for the hard problems, for the long problems. Okay. So just keep that in mind. All right. Thanks. I'm hoping this helps.